The college baseball experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win 100 times up to 100 times your money with the Underdog Fantasy Pick'em. Sign up today with promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. And we're also brought to you by the SGPN Mega Memorial Day merch sale. It's not Memorial Day anymore, but this merch sale is going all the way through the end of May. It ends today, Friday, May 31st. 15% off of everything in the SGPN merch store with the promo code SGPNMay. Act now. The sale ends today. Let's go, baby. It is time. It is finally Friday. We are a little less than 12 hours away from first pitch in the 2024 NCAA Baseball Tournament. College baseball fans, we've been waiting for this the entire season long. What's going on? I'm your host today, Noah Bieniek. Ryan Solo. We've got 32 freaking games. It was time-consuming to find all the pitchers. However, today it seemed a little bit better than in years past, but also I have more data and stats that I can kind of handicap these games with. So it's also took me a little bit longer than I was used to because of the larger than normal slate with 32 games instead of 20 or 15 during the regular season. One other thing that I want to ramble on before we get going here is that my typical strategy when it comes to the regionals and the NCAA tournament is I typically beat the books to the numbers. Any edge that I find, I usually like to bet in regionals. That's just me. I'm a little bit less aggressive when it comes to the regional futures because there's a gigantic hold on that futures market. These game lines is where I personally choose to attack because I'm jumping in the mud, going in every game, finding the pitchers, finding some stats to be able to handicap all these games. Whoever is listening to this right now, because believe me, I saw you guys. We had 30 waiting at like 10 p.m., 11 p.m. I apologize. I had to schedule today's stream. That way it would go in the SGPN newsletter that goes out into all of the website subscribers in our email list. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe to the website, but you get free picks from all of the SGPN contributors. And because it's this big time of the year, the attention was on me. So I needed to schedule it. I knew it was going to, draw a lot of attention. Everybody was waiting in here in the lobby. I kept texting. I was trying to be as, clear as I don't know what I'm trying to say, but as clear as possible that I was not ready and I was going to need plenty of time to handicap tonight's slate. But I promise you, I've got the most in-depth show for all 32 games that you're going to find on YouTube, on podcast platforms. So without further ado, we've got plenty of games to jump into here. So let's go. First game and also one last thing too. We've got run lines and totals here. We've got overnight lines for run lines and totals on DraftKings and a couple other books. And I've got it right here on Tally Site too. So right after this show, again, when I'm handicapping these college baseball games for our shows, I do not have any picks prior to me hitting live. I've handicapped them, and then I go reread through all of my handicaps for this show specifically, and then I go on the website and I lock it up. So you guys are getting the best prices before I'm even placing these. So let's go. Let's dive right into this game. We did one refresh on the book. The first game on the DraftKings slate is at noon, Western Michigan at Kentucky in the Lexington Regional, the 1 seed versus the 4 seed. The Wildcats are minus 720. Western Michigan's plus 450. That's not where we're personally going to attack, though. In these 1-4 seed games where there's just crazy juice on the money line, the run line is the way to go. And also, you can make some money on the totals here. So Western Michigan, Kentucky. Starting for Western is Brady Miller, a senior right-hander who's 6-5 with a 6.70 ERA. 73 strikeouts, 23 walks, and 83.1 innings with a 375 SIERA. And going for Kentucky is their number one. I mean, it's Trey Poozer, the graduate senior right-hander. He's been starting Friday nights in the SEC. He's 5-1 with a 4.02 ERA, 64 strikeouts, 27 walks, and 69.1 innings with a 389 SIERA. Western Michigan, their bullpen has a 4.52 ERA, 8.99 team OPS, 116 WRC plus. They're 10-10 on the road this season. Kentucky, in that bullpen, they have a 5.29 overall ERA on the weekends. And of course, that's in the SEC. So they're playing the best competition in the country with a 904 team OPS, a 117 WRC plus, and they're 16-11. This is actually a wrong stat. I wrote 16-11. There's no way they're 16-11 at home this season. I think they only have like 4 or 5 losses at Kentucky Pride Park. Anyways, Kentucky is definitely the play. I have them winning this game here. The question is Kentucky going to be able to score, how many runs to be able to cover a run line, or is the Broncos covering this run line? Personally, I'm going to say that Western Michigan is going to cover the plus 5.5. And we're going to stay under the 12.5. I don't think Kentucky is going to end up being able to run this score up on the Broncos for what it's worth. But this is official. I'm not going to have anything on this game here. I do think Kentucky, if you're going to throw together a crazy lottery parlay, today's the do it. Today's the day to do it, first off, because 1 seeds usually do not lose on day 1 in this tournament. They've only lost 4 times in the last 3 years, and last year 3 of them lost. So I don't know how you want to look at that. It's just stats from the last 3 years since COVID in this tournament. 1 seeds are 44-4. I believe that's the number. So it's a crazy trend. If you want to throw together a lottery parlay of a lot of the 1 seeds, I'm not going to stop you. I think Kentucky's a great candidate here. I don't see them losing this game. Game number 2 on the DraftKings odds board here is Wofford and LSU. The Tigers are minus 270. Wofford is plus 200. The total's set at 11. LSU is minus 2.5 at minus 110. Wofford plus 2.5 minus 120. A lot of murmurs going around that, hey, Zach Cowan is probably going to start this game for Wofford. He could give LSU some troubles here. I'm not on that side, but Cowan has been pretty good this season. He's a little guy, a 5'10" right-hander who's 9-2 on the year, 3.81 ERA, 118 strikeouts, only 28 walks, and 104 innings with a 2.85 SIERA. And then LSU, it's a TBA, but I mean, it's Gage Jump. We all basically know it's either going to be Gage Jump or Luke Holman. I'm going to go with Jump because Holman, I think, is the better of the two. They'll save Holman for North Carolina in game 2 this weekend. Jump is a junior lefty who's 6-1 with a 3.42 ERA, 89 strikeouts, 20 walks, and 73.2 innings with a 2.51 SIERA. He's got a 2.13 ERA in his last 6 starts. And also this LSU bullpen's kind of found their groove. So the 5.96 weekend bullpen ERA this season isn't as bad as it has been lately. And the Wofford 6.42 weekend bullpen ERA is kind of rough playing over there in the SoCon. It's a very offensive league, but they're not able to stop those guys. I think LSU is going to be able to put up some runs in this game once they get Cowan out of this game for sure. When we're talking about the 2 offenses here, Wofford 982 team OPS, team OPS, 115 WRC plus. LSU with a 902 team OPS, 115 105 WRC plus. Man, I can't talk. OPS though for LSU is 80 points higher against right-handed pitching than it is against left-handed. So I think if Cowan starts for Wofford, LSU's going to be able to put up some runs here. I do think LSU covers the 2.5. I think they win this game, and I think this game goes over the 11. Yes, I know Jump and Cowan are starting. They're 2 of their better pitchers for these teams, but these offenses are going to score runs in this game, I think. So that's my pick for this game. Our next game here is Penn and Virginia. The Who's are minus 6.5 at plus 110. Penn plus 6.5 minus 140. Penn on the money line is plus 500. Virginia minus 810 on the money line. The total is set at 14, 115 both ways. Starting for Penn is Cole Safiro. He's a senior right-hander who's 5-4 with a 4.98 ERA, 86 strikeouts, 31 walks, and 68.2 innings with a 3.11 SIERA. He has a 7.71 ERA in his last 3 starts. And then going for Virginia here is Joe Savino, who's a grad senior right-hander, 2-2 on the year, 3.18 ERA, 15 strikeouts, 9 walks, and 22.2 innings with a 4.79 SIERA. Personally, I think Virginia's going to be able to put up plenty of runs in this game. When we're talking about a Penn weekend bullpen ERA of 6.31 and Virginia's team OPS 10.21, 137 WRC plus. Penn also can put up some runs here. 862 team OPS, 109 WRC plus, and Virginia's weekend bullpen ERA hasn't been great at a 6.26. However, Penn with an 866 OPS against right-handed pitching, that's 100 points less than their OPS against left-handed. So they typically do better against left-handed pitchers. Savino here as a righty. I think I like Virginia here. Like again, if you're putting together a lottery ticket parlay, Virginia makes some sense in that parlay. I like the over next in this game, over 14.5. And then Penn, I think, will be able to score some runs. 6.5 is a lot of runs. So I think Penn has a shot to cover this game in this one. Another noon start time, Stetson at Florida State. Interesting matchup here because the Seminoles are minus 395, Stetson plus 280. Total set at 12.5, minus 115 both ways. FSU's minus 3.5, Stetson plus 3.5, minus 115 there. For Stetson, they have not announced a starting pitcher. I'm going to project that it's Eric McAtee, a senior right-hander who's 3-3 with a 4.62 ERA, 70 strikeouts, 23 walks, and 62.1 innings with a 3.21 SIERA. Florida State has confirmed that they're throwing off this game. They are not throwing their ace, Jamie Darnold. They're throwing Carson Dorsey, a junior left-hander who's 5-4 with a 5.53 ERA, 68 strikeouts, 31 walks, and 55.1 innings with a 3.57 SIERA and an ERA at home of 2.66. That changes a lot in my view of this game. With Dorsey, he has been struggling lately, but lately Florida State hasn't really been playing home games. I think his last 2 or 3 appearances have been either neutral or on the road. And those he has not looked great in, especially the 2 ACC tournament appearances. So when we're looking at this game with like a little bit of recency, tunnel vision, Dorsey's not going to appear as great to us. But, I mean, when he's been at home this year at Dick Howser Stadium, he's been all right. Stetson, weekend bullpen ERA of 4.12, 8.99 team OPS, 105 WRC plus. They themselves on the road this season, 11-10. Florida State with a 5.55 weekend bullpen ERA, 9.04 team OPS, 126 WRC plus, and they are 27-4 at home this year. Yes, I know Stetson knocked off Florida State earlier this season in a midweek game, but also Florida State won a game against the Hatters too. Both games were close. Florida State, I think the game that they won was 1-0 final. But here on a Friday, the first game of a weekend, I think Florida State will be able to deploy some of their better bullpen options if they need to in this game to stay in it and to win. Ultimately, I do think Florida State's got enough to be able to pull away from Stetson here. I think this game goes over the total of 12.5. Give me Florida State on the money line and to cover the minus 2.5 run line. I'm rolling through my tally site here. Minus 3.5 run line. Sorry. Rolling through my tally site here, marking down all of these picks that I'm giving out. One more noon game, then I'll get to the chat and read an ad. The last noon game of the day tomorrow is Coastal Carolina and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's minus 145 favorite here. Coastal Carolina plus 114. The total's set at 11.5, minus 115 both ways there. Vandy minus 1.5 is plus 120. Coastal Carolina minus 150 is plus 1.5. This game being played in the Clemson regional, Coastal Carolina has not announced a starting pitcher, nor really has Vanderbilt officially. Tim Corbin in a presser said that Bryce Cunningham or J.D. Thompson would get the ball in this game. For Coastal Carolina, I think that it's going to be Riley Eichhoff. He's been their Friday night guy for most of the season. He hasn't been excellent, so that's why the 11.5 number immediately jumps out to me as, Vanderbilt's offense had a good weekend in Hoover. Coastal Carolina's offense is one of the better ones, in the Carolinas for sure. They have a 913 team OPS, a 119 WRC plus, and their bullpen's not great. Vanderbilt's bullpen's not great. I really like this 11.5 total here. And that is probably going to be a bet from yours truly. That one's probably going to be the first one that we have a big edge on because, I mean, both bullpens aren't going to be able to hold it. Bryce Cunningham, worse splits on the road than at home. JD Thompson's been a dog lately, so if he's on the mound, this is when it probably gets busted. But even still, like Vanderbilt's offense has built some good momentum lately. Overall, though, in this game, I think Coastal Carolina's got a shot to win this. Personally, I think if Bryce Cunningham starts, they probably win this. If JD Thompson starts, this one's going to be a dogfight till the bitter end, but I do like some runs scored in this game. Let's check in on the YouTube chat. It's buzzing. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to keep up with it. I mean, we've got 125 people in here counting YouTube and Twitter, and it is 1:53 a.m. I love all you guys because you guys were waiting for this thing. So I really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. James Roberts says, feels like Christmas morning. Connor Johnson says, bunch of degenerates. Avetta says, we're loyal. Ryan Hasty, it's all good. No, we're all here for it. Change the date to my 5/31 though. Shit. Thank you, Avetta. Damn it. Yeah, I do have to change that. Ryan Hasty says, still just money lines offered in Canada. Oh, that sucks. Connor Johnson says, Wofford got some bats now. Go for points. Good call. Alfred 44 said, did I miss the FSU breakdown? I'll go back and check. No, buddy. But I'm sure you've listened by now. I mean, I just finished that one up like a game ago. Ryan Hasty says, Stetson scares me in Florida. I mean, they always punch up. Avetta says she's a Seminoles fan and she's taking the plus 3.5 and the over. Let's ride. Avetta says 94 degrees, not much wind, and 50% humidity. Listen to the weather girl, and that's not a slate. That's literally, she works for Better Weather. Shout out to Better Weather. They also, I mean, in March when we saw them in Vegas, they said they were going to jump in to possibly some Omaha weather for us during the College World Series. So that would be clutch. Alfred 44 says, I'm doing an all ACC parlay. Florida State will get some back. Avetta says, yes, Noah agrees with me. Let's cash. Squad ride. Alfred 44 says, I want to take Coastal at plus money, but I'm biased. Don't waste your time on my stupid comments. Ryan Hasty, best college baseball show ever. 1:55 a.m. Nothing better. Pardon me as I have to make a little bit of money here and also self-promote this show because the college baseball experience every single night, no matter if it's 1:30 a.m. or 5 or 6 a.m. because I've done the show at 6 a.m. during the postseason. Tune into the college baseball experience every single day. It's going to be like an hour show covering every single game, odds on every single game, pitchers projected for every single game. Plus, there's still time to hop into the college baseball bracket contest right now for a chance to win a $200 SGPN gift card over there, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bracket. Or if you want a shorter link, it's sg.pn/bracket. Plus, we're running a mega Memorial Day merch sale, 15% off of everything in the merch store, promo code SGPN May. These hats, these shirts, everything for TCE in that SGPN merch store. And if you win that gift card, you can go over there and spend that on that too. Underdog Fantasy is wanting to make the NBA playoffs a lot more fun for all of you guys. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. Make entries of all basketball or mix and match across your favorite sports. You can win up to 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun. Underdog is available in 30 plus states, including California, Texas, and even Canada. Personally, I was writing nightly articles during the college basketball season. Plenty of player projection markets over there. We're hitting at 62%. When you're doing that, trust me, it's a ton of fun. Sign up with promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. Okay, we're back here on the college baseball experience. We're picking it up at the 1 p.m. Eastern games. The first one on the DraftKings slate is Army at Georgia. The Knights, the Black Knights, are plus 450. The Bulldogs minus 720 here at Foley Field. Starting for Army is Matthew Ronnebaum, senior right-hander who's 6-3 with a 3.91 ERA, 63 strikeouts, 25 walks, and 71.1 innings. with a 393 Sierra. And going for Georgia is Leighton Finley, the sophomore right-hander who's 5-1 with a 4.18 ERA, 69 strikeouts, 24 walks, and 64.2 innings with a 341 Sierra, a 205 ERA in his last 4 starts. Army's bullpen, 5.17 weekend bullpen ERA, 8.44 team OPS, 105 WRC plus. Georgia's bullpen, I mean, it's trash. It's 7.57, but they've got an extremely favorable draw with their explosive offense. The second highest WRC plus in the country at 138, a 10.35 team OPS. They're 29-5 at home. This one's also another team that I would say go ahead, put it into your lottery ticket, one seeds parlay, because I don't see Georgia losing this game, honestly. In this one, I like the over 13, and I also like Georgia -5.5. That over 13 might be really really intriguing. If Finley wasn't so good lately, with a 2.05 ERA in his last 4 starts, I would probably take action on that. Georgia might be able to put up 13 on their own. 1 p.m. East, Yukon and Duke over there in Norman at Mitchell Park. The Blue Devils -280, Yukon +210. No pitchers announced for this game. I'm going to project that Yukon goes with Garrett Coe, as they have for most of the season. The real question here is for Duke. Do they go with Jonathan Santucci, who's been battling the rib injury over the last 2 weeks? He's expected to make his return this weekend. We just don't know what day. And Duke, they're kind of notorious this season for not really announcing their starting pitchers before games, making it impossible for us to handicap these games personally. But when it comes to Duke against Yukon really leans on their good, not great pitching staff, because their offense is average or below average, quite frankly. Duke has an elite pitching staff, and their offense is also pretty close to elite this season. Duke 4.39 weekend bullpen ERA, 9.65 team OPS, 126 WRC plus. Yukon with a 5.31 weekend bullpen ERA, which is a full run worse, 8.39 team OPS, 102 WRC plus. So, I mean, Duke, we got a 24% better offense, a run better bullpen compared to Yukon's. Duke is a normal parlay candidate, and trust me, we're going to have quite a few parlays at the end of the show, like we always do during the NCAA tournament. Next game here on the DraftKings slate, 1 p.m. East, Evansville at East Carolina here, Clark LeClaire Stadium. The Pirates are -315. The Purple Aces are +230. Insert the Colby Dant tablet soundboard. We believe in the Pirates, in the spirit of ECU, because they're going to have their hands full. They're going to need to all be singing that song in this stadium with Kenton Deverman on the mound for Evansville. He's a freshman southpaw who's 8-1 with a 4.03 ERA, 77 strikeouts, 20 walks, and 98.1 innings with a 3.83 Sierra. Going for East Carolina, Zach Root. The thing about Root here is he's coming off of his own injury, and we don't know how deep he's going into this game. Also, East Carolina is a little bit nicked up in that bullpen as well. So if you get into the bullpen early, there are some serious question marks here with who's healthy and who's not. We don't know until we're going to see it play out on the field with the options that Cliff Godwin chooses to deploy. Root on the season is 6-0 with a 3.13 ERA, 71 strikeouts, 19 walks, and 60.1 innings with a 2.73 Sierra. However, he missed a month and he's only made one appearance since, and that was last week in the AAC tournament, and it wasn't an amazing appearance. Here's what East Carolina is going to be able to, catch back up possibly is if they get into the Evansville bullpen. It's a 5.93 weekend bullpen ERA, whereas East Carolina is a 4.17. But they've got to be within striking distance, because I think Deverman's going to go deep into this game. He's got 98.1 innings under his belt already. So he will eat up some innings for these Purple Aces. Evansville with a 9.16 team OPS, 119 WRC plus. East Carolina 8.84 team OPS, 112 WRC plus. The thing here that gives me a little bit more comfortability that East Carolina is going to win this game with cushion is that they're playing the matchup here. With Root being a left-handed pitcher, Evansville with an 808 team OPS against left-handed pitching this season, 918 against right-handed pitching this season. So they're a full 100 points less, 110 points less against southpaws than they are against orthodox pitching. East Carolina's 26-4 at home this season. Plus, Deverman doesn't really miss bats. So he's got 77 strikeouts in those 98 innings. I think East Carolina is going to be able to have their way with the sticks enough to win this game. Do it with a little bit of cushion. The -3.5 is probably the way I go here. A lot of people seem to be hyping up Evansville prior to this game. When I handicapped it, I just didn't see it to be out that way. I do think that there are going to be some runs scored in this game, so I'll take the over 13.5 here. The next game, -3,500, Texas A&M, 3,500 point favorite here against Grambling State. Grambling State plus 1,400. You can get Grambling a lottery ticket on the Tigers at 14-1 to win this game. The run line is set at 9.5. Now, I've never seen this before. Personally, like betting with DraftKings, if a team run rules another team, they, it's a void bet. However, in the NCAA tournament, I do not believe these games get run ruled. I think they're allowed to just keep putting up runs. And if you look into the non-con slate of Grambling, they got stomped almost every single game when they were not playing SWAC opponents. They're 25-26 overall in the year. They did pretty well in the SWAC. They did not do well out of the SWAC. And Texas A&M here, I think they win this game. Honestly, don't even bother putting this into your parlay because it's not going to move the odds much at all. The -9.5 is really interesting. The only thing that's making me hesitate here is that I do not know that rule for the NCAA tournament by head or off the top of my head whether or not run rules happen in the NCAA tournament. I can't remember. And if this would be void or not, because Grambling's lost a fair share of games by double digits this season. So Texas A&M -9.5. Again, I don't think they would set this thing at 9.5 where you have to specifically win by 10, because that would just be downright evil. If there was a run rule in the tournament, over 14.5 seems pretty free. Over 14.5 and -115. Texas A&M -3,500. I think the Aggies win this game. I think it goes over 14.5. That actually might be a bet from me. I'm going to lock that currently right now. We'll get back to at the end of the show. I'll kind of narrow down my locks or expand my locks if I don't have enough. Because like I said, I do like to have a little bit more volume on the NCAA tournament just because the bookmakers have never offered this many games. They have not followed these teams for this long during the regular season. But personally, me jumping into the mud, I trust myself in my handicapping that I've found quite a few edges in the NCAA tournament. One more game to cover the 1 p.m. Eastern slate. We'll hit the last ad of the show. We'll read the YouTube chats, and then we'll knock out the rest of this slate. Indiana, Southern Miss in the Knoxville Regional, the 2-3 seed matchup here. Southern Miss is -160. Indiana's +124. The total's set at 12. The Golden Eagles are -1.5, +105. Indiana +1.5, -135. I actually found a pretty decent handicap for this one. Indiana's Ty Bothwell is starting this game, a graduate senior left-hander who's 6-3 with a 4.90 ERA, 82 strikeouts, 23 walks in 79 innings with a 3.40 SIERA. And in his last 5 starts, he has a 2.35 ERA. And then for Southern Miss, it's going to be Billy Oldham, who is a senior right-hander, 6-2 on the year, 3.97 ERA. He has 96 strikeouts, only 26 walks, and 90.2 innings with a 3.27 SIERA. And in his last 3 starts, he has a 5.54 ERA. For Indiana, the only question mark here on this team right now in this handicap is that bullpen. When does Bothwell come out? When does the bullpen come in? Indiana's weekend bullpen ERA is 5.69. They have an 883 team OPS, a 111 WRC+. Southern Miss has a 488 weekend bullpen ERA, so it's almost a full run better, an 854 team OPS, and a 106 WRC plus. Here's the kicker, though. Southern Miss's offense is much, much worse against left-handed pitching than they are against right-handed pitching. Bothwell, 235 ERA in his last 5 starts. Remember that? Southern Miss has a 746 OPS against left-handed pitching this season compared to an 897 OPS against right-handed pitching. That is a huge, huge difference. Indiana plus 124 is going to be a bet for me here today. So I have them plus 124. I have them plus 1.5, and I'll go with the under 12 in this matchup. I do think there will be a little less scoring than usual. Oldham in his own right is a good pitcher. And Southern Miss, I think their offense is going to be held at bay for quite some time by Bothwell early. So I'll take the under 12 in this game, but lock up Indiana's money line here plus 124. If you're new, if you're just tuning into the college baseball experience during the NCAA tournament, a lock just means that we're betting it. It's our term. The entire SGPN network says lock. That just means we're betting it. I am not controlling how much you wager on locks because locks do lose. It's not, an unforgivable thing if a lock loses. But go look at my record on our picks page, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/college baseball picks. My record's there. You can look at my lock record. It's pretty damn good. Before we continue on with the show, if you're betting on NBA player props this postseason, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm gives you a menu of the best player props for every single NBA playoff game, making it easy to go through and finding the best props to put your money on in seconds easy. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a team of data scientists and quants that focus on fine-tuning their algorithm, to give you the best shot at winning. Rhythm, RITHMM, pairs its predictions with player prop graphs to help you feel even more confident in your picks, which you can make wherever you normally place your bets or DFS picks. From superstars to bench players, Rhythm finds the best player prop lines, all backed by AI data, without you needing to endlessly scroll a sports book. Rhythm also allows you to create your own custom NBA models so you can get AI-backed moneyline, spread, and total picks for every playoff game. Start a free 7-day trial and start winning your NBA player props with Rhythm, available wherever you get your apps. All right, we're home free in this episode. Kept catching back up on the YouTube chat here. UNLV 94 says, Noah, we want locks. There will be plenty of locks in this show, more than any typical show of mine. Normally I'm pretty tight to the hip, but in the NCAA tournament, we shoot a wide spread. Alfred 44 says, thanks a bunch hasty. That was a comment on some of his comments. Nathan Cerna says, woo, about to take the Gators till I saw this show. Yeah, I'm not on the Gators today. I'm betting the Huskers. We'll get to that game in a little bit. Chat was loving the spirit of ECU when I brought it to life. You have to bring it up. What about that Oregon game? We'll get to it, Elmer. Thank you, chat, for taking care of it. Does anyone know if ESPN Plus is going to cover all of the games or just a few games like conference tournament week? So ESPN Plus, or if you have ESPN Plus, you will be able to have access to every single game throughout the NCAA tournament. Some games are only accessible on ESPN Plus, some games SEC Network, some games on ACC Network, some games on ESPN2, some games on the 4-letter network, but all of them will be available on the app ESPN. And if you have ESPN Plus, you will have every single game accessible so you can watch. Toxic Draco says, I made about 5K with Noah's picks. I assume that this season, I mean, Aveta's saying this is the most profitable weekend in college baseball. It is. I mean, we are firing left and right this weekend. Hopefully we come out with good variance like we have the previous 2 years doing this show. All right, 2 p.m. Eastern slate. There's only one game at this time, of course, but It's James Madison in South Carolina in the Raleigh Regional, the Raleigh Regional. Shout out to Grissom for getting on my ass for how to say it. I don't really, that's just how I grew up saying it. But I mean, it's all in good fun. Two buddies. I don't know why everybody overreacted on Twitter. I even said, I know you're being facetious, but either way, sarcasm is not really taken too well over text. South Carolina minus 230 on the money line. James Madison plus 175. Total set at 12.5. The run line here is 2.5. South Carolina plus 105, minus 2.5. James Madison plus 2.5 is minus 135. In this game, we have two pitchers here. Thank the Lord. And we do for most of the games, but there was just a weird stretch where we didn't have some pitchers here. James Madison, Todd Mazzocchi is getting the ball here. He's a junior right-hander who's 5-1 with a 6.80 ERA, 42 strikeouts, 22 walks, and 47.2 innings, 439 SIERA. And then for South Carolina, they're going back to Eli Jones. He was the Friday guy for the middle of the season during the SEC slate. And then during the back half, he really kind of fell apart. He's 3-4 on the year, 5.32 ERA, 52 strikeouts, 19 walks, and 64.1 innings with a 397 SIERA. I've said it about a couple of guys. I'll say it again about Eli Jones as well. Really kind of hit a wall in the SEC. A lot of teams do. I mean, we've seen this time and time again. Once they get out of the SEC, it is like a true breath of fresh air when they're playing non-conference opponents. I think Jones will be just fine on the mound. The South Carolina bullpen is a little bit questionable with the 5.44 weekend bullpen ERA, but it's the same thing applies to them too. 889 team OPS, 114 WRC plus. And then for James Madison, they have a 471 weekend bullpen ERA, 906 team OPS, 115 WRC plus. And South Carolina against right-handed pitching, a full 100 points better than they are against left-handed pitching. It's a 920 OPS against right-handers, against a 820 OPS against left-handers. South Carolina at minus 230 is a pretty good parlay piece if you're putting together normal parlays throughout the NCAA tournament. So we'll come back to that one here. And I almost forgot to fill it in on my tally site, but I'm going to go South Carolina on the money line, South Carolina minus 2.5. And we'll take the over 12.5 in this one. James Madison, they'll be able to put up a couple of runs. And South Carolina will do most of the heavy lifting for us there. On my tally site, it has the Yukon Duke game down here. So apparently I forgot to fill that one in, but we didn't have pitchers for that one. So 3 p.m. Eastern, we do not have a run line for Arkansas and Southeast Missouri State. However, Arkansas is one of the shorter, larger favorites, if that makes any sense. The Hogs are minus 810 on the money line. SEMO is plus 500. The total's set at 12.5. And again, I don't have a total here sitting in, or a run line here sitting in front of me for this one. Hayden Dow is starting for SEMO. He's a senior left-hander, 4-2, 489 ERA, 57 strikeouts, 30 walks, and 77.1 innings with a 4.55 SIERA. In his last 3 appearances, he has a 6.75 ERA. Then going for Arkansas is Mason Molina, a junior left-hander who's 4-2, 4.04 ERA, 77 strikeouts, 32 walks, and 55.2 innings with a 3.20 SIERA. The bullpen for SEMO is not good. It's set at 6.20 weekend bullpen ERA. They do have a 903 team OPS, 115 WRC plus, so they could be able to carry their own weight, put up a couple of runs in this game. The total is a low 12.5. Arkansas, on the other hand, 423 weekend bullpen ERA. That bullpen is so stacked, so loaded. 823 team OPS, 100 WRC plus, which is average across the landscape in the NCAA Division I level. But they are 33-3 at home this season. And the thing here, so I was hoping to see a run line. So if anybody has a book that has a run line displayed, I'm reading off of DraftKings currently. Drop the run line down in the comments below, because Arkansas, they have a 772 OPS against left-handed pitching compared to an 857 OPS against right-handed pitching. And also this Hogs offense isn't going to put up a blitzkrieg against SEMO. They'll score their runs, but it's going to be like 5, 6, 7 8 runs a game. If SEMO can score 2 or 3 and we get one of these crazy run lines where we're seeing the 1 versus 4 seed games we saw a 9.5, we saw a 6.5. If we get one of those, SEMO plus the runs is a really good look here because this offense is going to be able to play a little bit against Mason Molina and some of the lower tier options out of the Penn. They'll be able to score 2 or 3 and they'll be able to keep it within 6.5 runs, I think. The next one, everybody, or not everybody, we had a comment on this this game. Florida against Nebraska in the Stillwater Regional. The Gators are minus 140. The Cornhuskers are plus 110. The total's set at 11. Florida minus 1.5 is plus 105. Nebraska plus 1.5 is minus 135. I'll handicap this one first, and then I'll walk you through my thinking of it after. So Liam Peterson, the freshman right-hander for Florida, is going to get the ball here. On the year, it's been a little below average and definitely below expectation. 2-4 with a 5.83 ERA, 63 strikeouts, 29 walks, and 54 innings with a 3.68 SIERA. He has a 2.41 ERA in his last 4 appearances. He's really started to figure something out at the very, very end of the year. It's like the tip of the iceberg before, like a possible breakout. So I could see the argument here for backing Peterson. However, Nebraska's starting Brett Sears, their ace, senior righty, 8-0, 2 flat ERA, 97 strikeouts, only 18 walks in 99 innings with a 2.87 SIERA in his last 4 starts. It is a dominant 1.31 ERA. It's ridiculous. Florida's bullpen is a big question mark too. Peterson doesn't really go deep into the games, so we're going to see quite a bit of the bullpen. The Gators have a 5.96 weekend bullpen ERA, an 8.96 team OPS, 1.11 WRC plus. Nebraska, on the other hand, a 4.41 weekend bullpen ERA, which is a full 1.5 better than the Gators. 8.47 team OPS, 105 WRC plus. Here's the thing, and I said this immediately when I saw this draw, when I saw Florida get into the NCAA tournament. I can't wait to bet against them twice. Nebraska, of course, with Sears here. He is a dominant pitcher. He's able to get a strikeout. This Florida lineup's full of swing and miss, and they have quite a few position players out for the year. So there is no momentum entering the NCAA tournament. Everybody that you listen to is saying Florida's got the talent. It's just a matter of whether they're going to put it together. Brett Sears on the mound is going to be able to shut him down, keep him in a lower total offensively, and the bullpen's also going to be able to mix and match and be able to keep Florida down. This minus 140 price on Florida is because they're an SEC team going out of conference, but I think they've got a really bad matchup in a pitcher and Sears who's going to be able to deal his ass off. And plus, Florida's not going to be taken lightly. Everybody's talking about how much talent they have and if they put it together, whereas Nebraska is like, we can't let them do that to us. And they're throwing their ace. They're going to throw some of their better pieces out of the pen. They're going to shut down Florida's offense. And Nebraska in the Big Ten tournament was putting up runs left and right. I know this is a little bit of above average offense. It's not better than a Florida offense, but I do think that they have momentum entering the NCAA tournament. They won the Big Ten tournament championship, where Florida, they went one and done in Hoover, and they're coming in crawling on their hands and knees, thankful that they got into the NCAA tournament. Nebraska plus 110 is a lock here for me on this show. Where is this game on my tally site? So Nebraska plus 110, Nebraska plus 1.5. I like either one of those. Personally, I'm going to take the money line. And I like the under 11 in this game. Next game on our slate is 3:00 p.m. Eastern start. West Virginia against Dallas Baptist over there in a loaded Tucson regional. Dub V is plus 145. DBU is minus 190. The total's set at a low 10.5, minus 115 both ways. DBU minus 1.5 is minus 105. West Virginia plus 1.5 is minus 125. This is a pretty even game. The books think that DBU is going to win by 2 runs. Let's jump into the handicap. West Virginia starting Derek Clark here, a senior lefty who's 7-1 on the year, 3.05 ERA, 73 strikeouts, 20 walks, and 79.2 innings with a 3.39 Sierra. In his last 5 starts, it's not been good. 5.14 ERA. For Dallas Baptist, it's Ryan Johnson, a junior right-hander who's 11-2 with a 2.07 ERA, 147 strikeouts, only 12 walks, and 100 innings with a 1.35 Sierra. That's dominant. And a 1.89 ERA in his last 5 starts. That's dominant. He's going to go deep into this game. He always pitches through. If he gets into some trouble with runners on base, he always pitches through adversity and he toughs it out for 7 or 8 innings, even if it's not his best day. Just to give Dallas Baptist bullpen, less slack and less work to do throughout the weekend. But even still, the bullpen's pretty good. 4.87 weekend bullpen ERA for the Pats, 9.34 team OPS, 119 WRC plus. And for West Virginia, it's a 5.81 weekend bullpen ERA, 8.42 team OPS, 101 WRC plus. The thing here for me that nerves me a little bit is DBU's offense has a 70 points less OPS against left-handed pitching than they do against right-handed pitching. But I think DBU wins this game. I am personally not going to bet it. And I do like all the trends that I was talking about with Ryan Johnson against Derek Clark, both of them in recent form. I think it favors Johnson, but I don't love the -1.5. The money line, I feel like it could get bounced if, the West Virginia, pitching staff is able to keep DBU at bay. Personally, my favorite pick here would be the under 10.5. Then I would go DBU money line. Then I'd go DBU -1.5. I think you're getting a dominant performance from Ryan Johnson. Derek Clark is the real X factor in this game. If he pitches well, that under is going to come in. If he doesn't pitch well, the total's in jeopardy. Dallas Baptist probably wins this game. West Virginia jumps on the pen a little bit later. So I'm kind of talking myself into the Dallas Baptist win. Yeah, I'll do it. Let's take Dallas Baptist. Again, we'll go over all these picks at the end of the show. We'll revise them, eliminate some of the ones that are sketch, fringe plays. But I like Dallas Baptist winning this game over West Virginia. Sorry, Mac. I think that was also an emotional tug on my shoulder. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's Randy Mazey's last year. That's what he's saying. We're going to have a magical run to Omaha. Sorry, Mac. Dude's an animal that you're facing game 1 here on Friday. Last 3:00 slate game, and then I'll check in on the YouTube chat for a minute. The Oregon Ducks are +100 against San Diego's -130. This total is also set at 2.5 or at 10.5 in the Santa Barbara regional. The Toreros are -1.5 +135. Oregon +1.5 -175. And I am betting San Diego here at the -130 price. Oregon starting RJ Gordon, the junior right-hander, who's 7-5 on the year, 4.80 ERA, 80 strikeouts, 38 walks, and 84.1 innings with a 4.20 Sierra. In his last four starts, it hasn't been great. He's got a 5.48 ERA. For San Diego, it's an official to be announced. I'm going to project that it's Josh Randall as the 2 seed. You should be throwing your ace to make sure you win this game against the 3 seed to ensure that you don't fall into the losers bracket and have to win 4 straight games to advance out of the regional. I think they throw their ace Randall here, who's a junior right-hander. And even if they don't throw him, it's not a big fall off a cliff to their SP2. I think San Diego wins whoever they throws, for the record. 4-2 record for Randall, 3.74 ERA, 78 strikeouts, 27 walks, and 67.1 innings. He's got a 3.22 Sierra, and in his last four starts, it's a 3.34 ERA. The kicker here for me is San Diego's offense is elite against, or not elite. It's much better against right-handed pitching than it is against left-handed pitching. The team OPS overall is 866. However, against righties, it's an 895 OPS, and against lefties, it's a 792. The weekend bullpen ERA is great with a 4.18. Oregon's is also great. They have tremendous depth. in this pitching staff with a 394, 877 team OPS, 109 WRC plus. But like I said, I think I've found a really good edge on San Diego. Plus, nobody knows the starting pitcher here. Everybody's assuming that it's going to be Josh Randall, but when that's public news, this is going to go up. So let's get the CLV now on San Diego. We have a good edge. Give me the Toreros minus 130. Lock that one up too. I got to find that game on my tally site, though, before we move on. And also, I will take the over in this game. I think that there's going to be more than 10.5 runs scored. I just got a weird hunch on that one. I think both runs will be able to put up a little bit of both offenses will be able to put up a little bit of runs on these staffs. So ESPN Plus is covering some of the games, not all. Yeah, so like they have some exclusive coverage on some regionals. Like they're not going to do you dirty with some of the better games on ESPN Plus only. But I would say like not all of the games are going to be on one of the main ESPN networks. You're going to need ESPN Plus if you want to watch every single game this weekend. Lotto Day tomorrow, says Toxic Draco. Thanks a bunch. Jared Green, my guy. Let's go. He says we locking in on the Hoosiers tomorrow. We are on IU. This guy, I met him in Vegas. Absolute gem of a human being. We honestly drank for 3 hours longer than we said we were. But I mean, conversations were golden. Still remember that day. Awesome time with Jared Green. And he's got plenty of connections in the college sports scene. Hey, sorry about the Govs. I was really bought into Austin P this year. Unfortunately, they fell short in the ASUN tournament. Get Still, he says, let's go Pokes. DBU is the new Rice, he says. Baptist for the W, says Hasty, the starting pitcher is too good. CRS Transio also says, I'm excited about DBU. Hasty says, Dallas Baptist minus 180 money line kind of sucks, but I played it. That's the exact same feeling I have. Evetta just said she fired on a San Diego, Indiana, Nebraska money line parlay. She is so pumped. Yeah, personally, I do my parlays based on the time slots. So that's the way I decide it. There's usually 4 or 5 legs that I really like, and I'll split it between an early slate and a late slate parlay. And that's how I typically do it, because I feel good about all 5 or all 6 or all 8. Depends on how many per day, but I feel good about all of them. So I don't care who's matched with who. Evetta says, yeah, I took DBU as a parlay piece. Grant says, if you had to pick one play, what's your favorite tomorrow? We'll go over that at the end of the show. We've still got a good bunch here. We're only at 4:00 p.m. slate. Let's jump into these games, though. Nicholls State, plus 180 against UC Irvine, who's minus 238. The total's set at 13. UC Irvine's minus 2.5. Nicholls is plus 2.5. Nicholls State's starting their ace, Jacob Mayers, who's a sophomore right-handed pitcher. 5-1, 4.28 ERA, 105 strikeouts on the year, 74 walks, and 69.1 innings. That's not going to work against one of the most patient teams offensively in the country, in UC Irvine. One of the best on-base percentages in the nation. That's not going to work. 412 Sierra for Mayers. In his last 8 appearances, it's been really good with a 376. Very, very steady. But I just think this is a bad matchup for him. UC Irvine's going with their ace, Nick Pinto, a senior lefty who's 9-2 with a 3.44 ERA, 90 strikeouts, 21 walks, and 89 innings with a 312 Sierra. In his last 4 starts, it hasn't been amazing, but I do value the Big West as a better conference than the Southland. His last 4 starts has been a 5.25 ERA. Nicholls State's bullpen, 4.88 weekend ERA, 8.88 team OPS, 113 WRC plus. UC Irvine, 4.19 weekend bullpen ERA, 930 team OPS, 125 WRC plus. For the record, I think Irvine's offense is going to be able to get into Mayers, and they've got one reliever in Salta Formaggio. But after that, Nicholls State, I don't think they have what it takes to, 1, win this game, to advance a little bit further in this Corvallis regional. So give me the Eaters, the Anteaters, to win this game, to cover this spread. And I think the total goes over because I think Mayers gets hit up a little bit. Pinto hasn't had amazing form recently. And I think Irvine's offense has some success. The next game on the slate, we jump from 4 p.m. East to 6 p.m. East. So if you're going out to dinner on a Friday night, do it at the 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock slate, because that's the break in between the early and the late slate. Here we go with the late slate. 6 p.m. East, VCU, Wake Forest, in the Greenville Regional. The Rams are plus 350. The Demon Deacons are minus 520. The total's set at 12.5. Wake Forest minus 4.5 at plus 110. The Rams plus 4.5 at minus 140. I'm going to take VCU plus 4.5 here. Their pitching staff is all right. Like I personally think they're going to keep VCU in this game for what it's worth. And Wake Forest bullpen, they're going a total bullpen game here. We'll touch on that in a second. But VCU, it's a to be announced currently. I'm going to project that it's Jack Hoymans on the year, 5.72 ERA, 4-2, 48 strikeouts, 29 walks, and 45.2 innings. But here's where it gets interesting for this handicap and why I'm really intrigued by the run line here for the Rams. Wake Forest is thinking about East Carolina. They are not thinking about this VCU game. They're going with ultimately their third or fourth option to start a game right now. And David Falco, a graduate senior right-hander who's 2-4 on the year, 5.87 ERA, 48 strikeouts, 16 walks, and 38.1 innings with a 3.13 Sierra. In the month of May, he has a 6 ERA. Then you get to the bullpen, which has been really, really, really shaky over the last 2 weeks. They had a good week against Clemson for whatever reason. And then you extend it even further to the Notre Dame weekend. This bullpen has not had a good stretch of weekends recently. It's a 5.61 overall weekend bullpen ERA on the year. This team, offensively, they have a lot of star power, but still it's a 120 WRC plus. That's great. That's 20% better than your average college baseball team. But is it going to be enough to cover the 4.5 run line when your pitching staff's also going to be giving up some runs here? I would expect this game to be like a 9-5, 7-3 ball game. VCU, their weekend bullpen ERA, 4.36. Their average offense gives me a little bit of nerves, but I think they're going to be able to put up some runs in this game. 823 team OPS for VCU, 102 WRC plus. VCU plus 4.5 at minus 140 is a lock of mine here. I think Wake Forest wins the game for what it's worth. And we are going to take the over 12.5. This one actually seems low too. I'm going to lock up the over 12.5 in this game too. So plus 4.5, over 12.5, and VCU Wake Forest. That total just seems a little too low to me. Next game, the Long Island fucking Sharks. Where's Colby when you need him? They are plus 1,500 in this game. They're 15-1 to win a college baseball game. They're just here for the vibes, for the experience. They're heading down the Chapel Hill for the weekend. North Carolina is minus 4,000 to win this baseball game. Total set at 13.5. The run line is also 9.5 here. Minus 9.5, plus 105 for North Carolina, plus 9.5, minus 135 on LIU. I'd be a maniac to fully handicap this game. But for what it's worth, North Carolina is throwing Jason DeCaro, who's been their Friday night starter for a couple weeks in a row here. For what it's worth, he wasn't the Friday night starter entering the season. He was actually supposed to be SP3. Jake Knapp gets hurt in the preseason. He was their preseason ace. Thulger Boaz gets hurt, and he was their Friday night starter for the beginning of the year all the way to like the 7th or 8th weekend. He's out for the season. So DeCaro has been their number one guy for the back half of the year, and they're starting him against LIU. 40-1, like as a minus 40-1. I don't even know if that's the correct terminology here. Minus 4,000 on North Carolina is not a great candidate for your 1 seed lottery ticket parlay. But It's just this game's absolutely hilarious. For what it's worth, the 13.5 total does seem low. Like North Carolina's got an outstanding offense. This is again kind of like the Texas A&M game, and I think I took the over in the. I didn't. I took the over in the over 14.5 and Texas A&M. I'm going to go over 13.5 with UNC. I personally think they have a shot to do it on their own. So yeah, North Carolina minus 9.5, over 13.5 is the picks for that game. For the next game here, we have Texas and Louisiana, an old-time baseball matchup down in the South between two really good baseball programs. Texas is minus 130, Louisiana plus 100 in the College Station Regional here. Total set at 11. Minus 1.5 on Texas is plus 114. Louisiana plus 1.5 is minus 145. The pitching matchup is as follows. Max Grubbs, the sophomore right-hander, going for Texas. He's 5-4, 3.41 ERA, 46 strikeouts, 15 walks this season in 68.2 innings. He's got a 4-flat Sierra, a 2.96 ERA in his last 4 starts, so he's got really good momentum entering this appearance here. And for Louisiana, they are not starting their ace either. They're going with their number 3, Carson Fluno. 4-0 on the year. He's a senior right-hander. 2.94 ERA, 47 strikeouts, 19 walks in 52 innings with a 3.80 Sierra. In his last 3 appearances, he's got a 1.50 ERA. Both bullpens, solid. 5.15 weekend bullpen ERA for Texas. 5.29 weekend bullpen ERA for Louisiana. Both offenses, average. Texas 97 WRC plus, 909 team OPS. Louisiana with a 874 team OPS, 98 WRC plus. So I really like the under 11 here in this game. For what it's worth, I think this is going to be a low scoring game. I'm thinking like 3-1, 4-1. Last year in the NCAA tournament, I do believe that this was a low scoring game as well. I'm going to go look that up now that I thought about it. Because these two teams played each other, if not once, they might have played twice in the Coral Gables regional last season. So Coral Gables, where is Louisiana Fast? Real quick research on the fly. 4-2 final last year between Texas and Louisiana. Texas ended up winning that regional. Louisiana lost to Texas. They beat Maine 19-10. Then they lost to Miami, got eliminated after an 8-5 final. Nice trip into the time machine there. But I'm locking up the under 11 between Texas and Louisiana for this season. And for what it's worth, I think Louisiana wins this game. Under 11, minus 115 there. We move to UCF, Alabama, 6 p.m. Eastern start. The Crimson Tide, minus 160. The Golden Knights, plus 124. Total set at 11.5, minus 115. That's a lot of 115s there on the board. And we also have more 15s. Alabama, minus 1.5 is plus 110. Plus 1.5 on UCF, minus 140. The handicap goes as follows. Dom Stagliano's pitching for UCF, a junior right-hander who's 4-4 with 3.73 ERA, 63 strikeouts, 22 walks, and 70 innings with a 3.72 Sierra. In his last 4 starts, it's a 3.10 ERA. Now let's get to Greg Ferrone of Alabama. Senior lefty, 4-3, 4.52 ERA, 62 strikeouts, 21 walks, and 67.2 innings, 3.84 Sierra. That's a fine line. However, in the month of May, he has a 9.41 ERA. UCF's weekend bullpen ERA, 4.80. Alabama's 6.34. Alabama's offense is significantly better, about 20% better, with a 116 WRC plus compared to UCF's 97 WRC plus. 910 OPS for Alabama compared to an 809 OPS for UCF. But pitching rules the day in the NCAA tournament. Typically, pitching travels better than the bats do. Stagliano entering the game with a 3.10 ERA in his last 4 starts. Give me UCF in this game. This is going to be a lock. At plus money, let's jump on it. Give me the Golden Knights in this one. And for the record, I think this game stays under 11.5. UCF's not going to put up 6 or 7 runs in this game. They'll win this game 5-1, 5-2, 5-3, 4-3, 4-2. They're going to have 5 or 6 runs in this game. That's my prediction for UCF. They win this game. We move to 7 o'clock. Let's check out the YouTube chat real quick. 2:42 a.m. So let's go back about 5 or 10 minutes or so. Let's go back to Dallas Baptist and then we'll check up there. Evetta, she talked about that parlay. I just missed Matt Grissom saying, "Hey Noah, what's going on, Grissom? Thanks for joining us here during the handicap sesh." Over 50 people live on YouTube at 2:43 a.m. That's outstanding. Grant, if you had to, he asked me that already. Ryan Hasty goes, "Nice Evetta. The parlay is worth a shot." Hasty says 74 walks in 69 innings. Yeah, it's a little rough. Grissom says, "Looks like Logan Redeman is going to get the start for San Diego." Thank you very much. You're clutch, brother. We'll maybe look at that at the end of the show when we're going through some of our fringe bets. Make sure that Redeman doesn't switch up that handicap. Where'd you find it, if you don't mind me asking? Alfred 44 says Wake could end up surprising some people this year, but our offense is sketchy. Ryan Hasty says the Sharks. And Alfred 44, the fucking Sharks. The chat was loving that shit. Yeah, where is Colby when you need him? LIU will swim into a couple of runs. Minus 5,000 on my $70 parlay. Give me Texas, says Nathan Cerna. 150 ERA in 4 games sounds good. It is. Under 11 LFG. Avetta says let's ride. Not taking the very shiny Knights, says Nathan. He says rolled tide. Avetta, let's go. All right. Let's finish this thing out. We've got a couple more games to go. We have the 7 o'clock slate starting, and then there's 3 late games that we're going to get to enjoy here on this Friday night. 7 p.m. East, the Cinderella from last year's NCAA tournament. It's Oral Roberts against Oklahoma here. They're on the road, true road environment at Dale Mitchell Park in Norman, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's minus 375. Oral Roberts plus 270. The total set at 12.5, minus 115 both ways. The Sooners minus 3.5 at minus 110. Oral Roberts plus 3.5, minus 120. So Jacob Hall is going to get the start for Oral Roberts. That name may sound familiar. He was on that Omaha team from last year, and he is still very legit. 10-2, 367 ERA, 105 strikeouts, only 19 walks in 103 innings with a 292 Sierra. And in his last 7 starts, it's a 263 ERA. Then we go to Oklahoma with Kyson Witherspoon. He's bounced back and forth between their Friday and Saturday starter. Him and Braden Davis have kind of traded spots. Recently, he's been pretty good. 358 ERA in his last 4 starts. He's a sophomore righty with a 7-3 record, 401 ERA, 81 strikeouts, 35 walks, and 74 innings with a 376 Sierra. Oral Roberts weekend bullpen ERA, 568. Their team OPS is poor with a 777. Shout out to that number, though, with a 92 WRC plus. On the road this season, they're 9-13-1. Oklahoma, their weekend bullpen ERA, a full run better than Oral Roberts, basically, with a 477 there. 918 team OPS, 119 WRC plus, which is almost 30%. That's 27% better than Oral Roberts, and they're 18-10 at home this season. Jacob Hall is going to go deep into this game. He's got 103 innings under his belt this season. He's going to do everything that he can to keep Oral Roberts in this game. The plus 3.5 on ORU is pretty interesting, I would say. Under 12.5 seems a really good play. Actually, I'm going to end up taking that. Let's take that under 12.5. Where is this game on tally site here? Under 12.5 is, I'm going to lock that one in for the end of the show. So we go and review it. Oklahoma wins, and I think ORU covers the 3.5 here. 7 o'clock in the Clemson Regional, High Point. They travel to Clemson, South Carolina. The Tigers are minus 620, High Point plus 400. Total set at 12.5, minus 115 both ways. Clemson minus 5.5 is plus 105. High Point plus 5.5 is minus 135. High Point starting Gus Hughes here, a senior right-hander who's 6-4 with a 3.95 ERA, 104 strikeouts, 39 walks, and 95.2 innings with a 3.51 Sierra. In his last 3 starts, it's a solid 3 flat ERA. For Clemson, Tristan Smith is going to get the ball here on Friday for the first time this season. It feels like he's getting the ball in the first game of the weekend. And of course, it's not really against one of the better teams, but I'll forgive Bakich here because Tristan Smith, since coming back from injury, just hasn't looked the same, unfortunately. They're going to look to stretch him out, give him some confidence for the postseason because this guy has the ability to be able to carry Clemson to Omaha with his stuff. However, it's not been a strong campaign for him. Sophomore lefty, he's draft eligible, so this is his last year with Clemson. He's 2-0, 4.17 ERA, 53 strikeouts, 29 walks in 41 innings, 3.76 Sierra, and he's got a 6.63 ERA since injury. He's made about 6 appearances since he missed about 2 months of the year. High Point weekend bullpen ERA is 7.70. So again, Clemson's got 24 come from behind victories this season. Hughes could go all right for High Point early. The bullpen's just going to give it up. Clemson's going to win this game. High Point's probably going to keep it within the 5.5 runs, though, with their ace on the mound because their offense, 115 WRC plus, 899 team OPS, 11-11 on the road this season. They're going to be capable enough to score some runs. Plus, the Clemson crowd's not overboard, not crazy. Also, shout out to those that are going to be watching this Clemson regional because your ears, if you don't like ambient noises from the crowd, your ears might start to bleed. Granted, it's not cowbells, it's not whatever else you'll hear in the SEC or wherever else in the country. In this Clemson regional, you'll hear the Vandy Whistler, who I personally don't have a problem with. I like I think that really keeps the crowd entertained, keeps them engaged. I like a good baseball crowd that is engaged with the game. Clemson, on the other hand, pumps in the "We Like the Party" like that music every ball that the opponent throws. It's absolutely hilarious. And if you're walking kids like a carousel, it's very, very annoying over time. And trust me, I like this Clemson team, but sometimes it's just like and you're just humming it to yourself for the rest of the day. But I think Clemson wins, High Point covers, over 12.5 is the picks for this game. 7:00 p.m., St. John's against Mississippi State. The Bulldogs are minus 475. The Johnnies are plus 325. Total set at 12. Mississippi State minus 4.5 is plus 114. The Red Storm plus 4.5 is minus 145. Starting both these teams' aces here. Xavier Kohlhasser for St. John's, sophomore righty. He's 9-2 on the year, 3.61 ERA, 44 strikeouts, 25 walks, and 67.1 innings, 4.82 Sierra. And his last 3 starts, it's a 3.46 ERA. Starting from Mississippi State's Cal Steven, junior right-hander, 8-3 with a 3.38 ERA, 97 strikeouts, 21 walks, 88 innings pitched, 2.89 Sierra. However, in his last 5 starts, it's a 5.05 ERA. He had been doing really, really good in SEC play up until this past month. Really, I don't think St. John's offense is good enough to really kind of take advantage of it. They're really kind of just a slightly above average offense. But I think they cover this one. I feel pretty confident about them covering this 4.5 number as well. St. John's weekend bullpen ERA, 3.90 with an 8.30 team OPS, 102 WRC plus. Mississippi State's WRC plus is also 102, 8.35 team OPS, and a 4.84 weekend bullpen ERA. Granted, St. John's hasn't played quite of the caliber quality of competition. However, they scheduled well in the non-conference. They played pretty good against those teams. This bullpen has looked pretty good this season. The starting rotation is also pretty good this season. They don't get a ton of whiff, which could be a little bit costly if you decide to wake up the Dakota Jordan and Hunter Hines bats of the world in this lineup, because currently they're in a pretty rough slump. And that's what gives me a little bit of confidence in taking the Johnnies plus 4.5 in this game because their pitching is going to keep them in the game. Cal Steven not really going tremendous over the last month. I like the Johnnies plus 4.5. That's going to be a lock for me in this game. And I do like the over 12 or under 12. Sorry, under 12 in St. John's, Mississippi State. I just don't think a lot of runs are going to be scored in this. That gives St. John's the ability to be able to cover a large spread in a baseball game. 7:00 p.m. start, Bryant against NC State. The Wolfpack are minus 920, Bryant plus 550. Total set at 14, minus 115 both ways. NC State minus 5.5 is minus 115. Bryant plus 5.5 is minus 115. Starting for Bryant is Austin Wayner, a senior right-hander who's 7-2, 4.03 ERA, 67 strikeouts, 23 walks, and 80.1 innings with a 3.93 SIERA. In his last 3 starts, it's not good, 6.53 ERA. Starting for NC State is Sam Heifel. He's 28 years old, basically, as a graduate senior right-hander. He was on that team that got shafted by the NCAA in 2021 when 9 players apparently had COVID during the College World Series. They're back. One last ride for Sam Heifel. He's 5-2 with a 5.56 ERA, 69 strikeouts, 36 walks, and 68 innings with a 4.45 SIERA. In his last 4 starts, it's a 7.59 ERA. Bryant's bullpen, not good. Not good, Bob. 7.41 weekend bullpen ERA. They do have an 8.84 team OPS, 112 WRC plus. NC State's bullpen ERA is a little bit below average, 5.76 with an 8.74 team OPS, 110 WRC plus. They're 25-7 at home. Bryant 14-15 on the road, but I do think they'll be able to score some runs in this game against Heifel in that NC State bullpen. NC State's not going to want to use some of their top options out of the pen after are already exhausting their best starting pitcher. So I think you're going to be able to get a conservative NC State late in the game with their pitching staff, and NC State's going to be putting up runs left and right on the Bryant pitching staff. That's not good. So give me the over 14 and let's lock that one up. NC State wins, and they cover the minus 5.5 as well. But over 14 is a lock. NC State, I also feel pretty good about them going into your lottery ticket 1-seed parlay. Like I said, only 4 1-seeds have lost first Friday games in the regionals since COVID, since 2021. I think the number is 44-4 off the top of my head. So NC State minus 920. That's not a bad option for your lottery ticket parlay. The next game on the slate is also 7 p.m. Eastern start. Northern Kentucky against Tennessee. Tennessee is minus 1450. Northern Kentucky plus 750. The total is set at 14.5. And Tennessee minus 7.5 is minus 115. NKU plus 7.5 is minus 115. Starting this game is Chris Stamos, 3-0, 3.34 ERA. AJ Causey, 11-3, 4.10 ERA, 100 strikeouts on the year and 74.2 innings with 16 walks. I wasn't able to confirm that this is the option. I just figure that Tennessee is going to keep the same routine that they have for most of the year. I mean, they did the exact same thing in the SEC tournament too. Northern Kentucky's got the 4th highest scoring offense. Tennessee has the highest scoring offense in the country, and this total is only at 14.5. I think I want to lock up the total here in this game too. Over 14.5 in Tennessee and Northern Kentucky. And for what it's worth, I still think Tennessee is going to be able to cover this minus 7.5. So Tennessee on the money line, Tennessee minus 7.5. And we're going to lock up the over 14.5 here in the Vols and Norse game. Another 7 p.m. Eastern start. Niagara, Oklahoma State. The Purple Eagles are plus 800. The Cowboys are minus 1,600. Total set at 14, minus 115 both ways. Oklahoma State minus 7.5 is minus 120. Niagara plus 7.5 is minus 110. Niagara, to be announced pitcher here as well. However, Oklahoma State starting Sam Garcia What are you doing? They're going with their ace a week after they didn't go with their ace to begin the Big 12 tournament. Josh Holiday is just not making any sense to me. Hopefully it doesn't cost them this weekend. I mean, they're still going to be in great shape, in my opinion, throughout the weekend, but you really don't need to use Sam Garcia against Niagara here, I don't think. Garcia is a senior lefty, 7-3 with a 3.27 ERA. Oklahoma State wins this game. I do think this game probably goes over, whether it be Oklahoma State doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but Niagara's jumped up and bit some high major teams this season. They're not going to just completely lay over, I don't think. But I really have no conviction behind this game. Give me Oklahoma State. I'll take them on the spread too. Actually, no, I won't. I'll take Niagara to cover the +7.5. I've actually watched this team play some baseball this year, and they're not the worst team in the world, but I think it goes over 14 and a lot of it has to do with the Pokes offense. 7 p.m. Eastern start again for Georgia Tech, UNC Wilmington. They really didn't do a great job spacing these games out. The Yellow Jackets are -130. The Seahawks +100. Total set at 13. Georgia Tech -1.5 is +110. UNCW +1.5 -140. To be announced pitchers for both teams here. Kind of frustrating, honestly. I'm going to project Aiden Finateri and RJ Salesgo for both teams. UNC Wilmington's pitching staff I trust a lot more than Georgia Tech's. Georgia Tech weekend bullpen ERA 6.66. UNC Wilmington 4.17. There's a huge difference there between the two. Georgia Tech's really going to just need to slug their way to a victory here. Whereas UNC Wilmington, I think them playing in the CAA, a conference that was pretty solid this year. They also had a solid run in the tournament, didn't give up too many runs, didn't get into those slugfests that Georgia Tech's going to need to get into if they want to win this game. Both offenses kind of the same here. Overall, Georgia Tech 884 team OPS, UNC Wilmington 874 OPS. But when it comes to run creation, Georgia Tech 125 WRC plus, UNC Wilmington 105 WRC plus. Now I did do 32 handicaps. I don't know if that's completely correct, but if it is, it's just because Georgia Tech supplies a lot more power than the Seahawks do. So the run creation is a little bit easier when you hit the ball 420 feet and you're able to just round the bags than just manufacturing runs like UNC Wilmington's more prone to do. They do have Thatch over there who has a bunch of home runs as well, but it's not up and down the order like it is for the Yellow Jackets. 7 p.m. Eastern start again. Illinois against Indiana State here in the Lexington Regional. The Fighting Illini +130. The Sycamores -166. Totals at 11.5, -115 both ways. Indiana State -1.5, +105. Illinois +1.5, -135. In this game, this is a really I'm going to end up with a bet here because Illinois starting Jack Crowder, the senior right-hander who's 7-2, 5.25 ERA, 75 strikeouts, 38 walks, and 82.1 innings, 4.32 Sierra. However, in his last 4 starts, it's a 6.37 ERA. Then for Indiana State, Zach Davidson is getting the start. He's a senior left-hander, 5-1, 2.41 ERA, 80 strikeouts, 17 walks, and 52.1 innings with a 1.53 Sierra. In his last 6 appearances, it's a 0.36 ERA. He's in really, really elite form right now. Going up against an Illinois team that did not put up a ton of runs in Omaha. One, just because they were not sticking it very well. I was watching a couple of those games because they were in Michigan's bracket. But 2, that's a big park, and Illinois relies on the long ball. They're going into Kentucky Proud Park, which is another big park. I just don't think they're going to be able to hit the long ball here in this regional. So Indiana State, 3.33 weekend bullpen ERA, 9.29 team OPS, 120 WRC plus. Their offense matches Illinois' offense, a 9.26 team OPS, 120 WRC plus. And don't give me the, they played weaker competition than Illinois did. The Big Ten ranked 4th in the RPI this season as a conference, And Indiana State has plenty of quad one victories, according to the RPI. Illinois, 577 weekend bullpen ERA. Their starter's not in good shape. Give me Indiana State, minus 166. Lock this one up. I'm finding it on tally site here before we move along. Indiana State, I also like the minus 1.5 on the Sycamores. And for what it's worth, I'll go with the under 11.5. Next game on the slate is a 8 o'clock start. So before we jump into the next slate, let's check in on the YouTube chat. Devin Ramos says Tennessee is taking the whole tournament. Hasty says books agree. Dogs. Hasty says, okay, State wasting their best arm. I agree. It's not smart. I feel like they would have. I'm a little bit more hesitant to not throw my ace in game one. However, in this one, I'm not a fan of them throwing it against one of the weaker 4 seeds. Or I wouldn't say weaker 4 seeds, because again, Niagara has done okay against top competition in non-conference. They just don't pose a huge threat, in my opinion, to Oklahoma State. Train FX says, did he go over the Vandy, Virginia, and Florida State games? Yes, I went with Coastal. I went with Virginia. I went with Florida State. We'll go over if I had a lock in that game at the end of the show. Shuda says, just found your channel and I love it. Big Oklahoma State fan, and I feel like we are one of the only teams who can compete against Texas A&M right now. Shout out to you guys. I'm planning on riding them throughout the postseason. Oklahoma State's rotation is Benj, Holiday, Garcia. I saw Garcia starting in their game notes today, so he's saying he got told from a source who works with the program. I'm going to ride with Garcia as my projection because I haven't changed anything up. I looked at their game notes and it said that Garcia was listed number 1 for this matchup. So I would love it tomorrow if I get surprised and Garcia's not on the mound. I would prefer it, but that's what I'm going to ride with here for the show. We've got 4 more games and then we'll go over a big recap of everything that we're going to be betting tomorrow, and we'll create some parlays here. Chat, if you want to put in a say on some of the parlay pieces, go ahead, get it going, and I'll check it in 5 minutes when we finish up the rest of tomorrow's games. At 8 p.m., Kansas State's taking on Louisiana Tech in the Fayetteville Regional. The Bulldogs are minus 150. The Wildcats are plus 120. Totals set at 12. Louisiana Tech is minus 1.5, plus 114. Kansas State plus 1.5, minus 145. And I am seeing shit. There are 2 more games that just popped out that I didn't get handicaps on because they weren't there 2 hours ago. You motherfucker. Kansas State, Louisiana Tech. K-State with Owen Barema, a grad left-hander, is starting this game. He's 6-3 on the year with a 4.91 ERA, 99 strikeouts, 39 walks, and 88 innings with a 3.49 Sierra, 3.82 ERA in his last 4 starts. Louisiana Tech is starting Luke Nicholls, a junior lefty who's 4-3 with a 3.74 ERA, 81 strikeouts, 27 walks, and 77 innings with a 3.16 Sierra. And in his last 5 starts, he's also been pretty solid with a 3.27 ERA. Kansas State, 4.87 weekend bullpen ERA. Louisiana Tech, 4.66 weekend bullpen ERA. These pitching staffs, the arms that you're going to be seeing right now are in great form. They're great staffs. The offenses aren't tremendously elite. Kansas State with an 800 team OPS, 95 WRC plus. Louisiana Tech with an 871 OPS, 109 WRC plus. The kicker here, I'm going to lock up the under. I'm going to lock up Louisiana Tech. The reason why is Kansas State against left-handed pitching, they suck. Holy shit. 896 OPS against right-handed pitching for K-State. 633 OPS against lefties. That's over 260 points worse against lefties than against righties. This is why splits matter. This is why they're important. Let's lock up the Bulldogs of Louisiana Tech here, minus 150. Under 12 is also a lock. Love that game. Just plenty of goodness to offer us in this one. And also Louisiana Tech minus 1.5 is what I'll go for on the run line there. But yeah, absolutely love what I'm getting offered in this game for sure. This is one of the games that fucking came up out of nowhere. Or just they took it down while I was scrolling through and handicapping these all. Oregon State's minus 315, Tulane's minus plus 230. For what it's worth, Oregon State's starting their ace Aiden May. Again, I only know that because I was watching a ton of press conferences all week. Mitch Canham said that they're going with their same routine, same rotation they have for most of the season. I don't know who Tulane's going with. I would assume Chandler Welch, who's been their best pitcher recently, as they try to start off this regional 1-0. The total set at 13.5, minus 115 both ways. Oregon State minus 3.5, minus 110. Tulane plus 3.5, minus 120. The thing I've said about Tulane handicapping this regional as a whole during this week is Tulane's lineup right now is as good as it can get. They are rolling with hot sticks currently. But I think Aiden May himself has been dealing recently. I think Oregon State is going to win. This is a nice parlay piece at minus 315. And I got no more analysis here with no notes in front of me. Another game that came up out of nowhere is a 9 p.m. start between UC Santa Barbara minus 298 and Fresno State plus 220. Fresno, their ace really isn't a true needle mover to me, whereas UC Santa Barbara's got Gallagher going, and he's been outstanding this year. That bullpen's legit elite. This is a West Coast game. The total's set at 10. The ball is not going to be flying. Whether or not these pitching staffs were throwing aces and had good bullpens, Fresno State doesn't really have the greatest bullpen in the world. UC Santa Barbara minus 2.5, minus 105 is pretty interesting. Just because I don't think Fresno State's as deep pitching wise as UC Santa Barbara is. So I'll go with the Gauchos all the way across the board, minus 298 on the money line, minus 2.5 on the run line. And I'll take the under 10 in this game. Last game on the slate, and I do have a handicap for this one, fortunately. And this one's a fun one. Arizona, Grand Canyon. This is maybe one of the marquee best matchups between a 1 and a 4 seed here. Arizona's minus 220, Grand Canyon plus 170. The total's set at 10.5 for what it's worth. Arizona minus 1.5 is minus 120. Grand Canyon plus 1.5 is minus 110. I mean, the books are saying that this game's going to be tight, and I agree. For what it's worth, I am going to be betting Grand Canyon. I was hoping for a larger run line than plus 1.5 here, but I like I'm just full send it. Take the money line, plus 170 on Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon starting Grant Richardson, a sophomore lefty who's 4-1, 4.03 ERA, 65 strikeouts, 26 walks, and 44.2 innings with a 290 SIERA. In his last 6 starts, it's a 3.24 ERA. And then for Arizona, they switched up Clark Candiotti and Jackson Kent. So Candiotti has gone better than Kent for most of the year. They finally make the switch for postseason time. Candiotti is a senior right-hander who's 7-3, 3.11 ERA, 98 strikeouts, 20 walks, and 89.2 innings with a 283 SIERA, 254 ERA in his last 6 starts. Last 6 starts, 254 ERA. So I like the under. The 10.5 number is really low, so I'm going to end up staying away. I do think it comes in on the under. But the big kicker here for me is that Grand Canyon's offense, first off, when you're just looking at flat numbers, is better than Arizona's, and I believe it. I mean, Grand Canyon's knocked off the Wildcats already this season. Grand Canyon, 883 team OPS compared to an 810 for Arizona, 111 WRC plus for the Lopes compared to a 96 WRC plus for Arizona. The weekend bullpen ERA for Grand Canyon, 4.08, Arizona, 4.55. Grand Canyon is capable of winning on the road too.
15-11 on the road this season. Arizona 19-7 at home. Also a pretty good record. But let's get to that kicker. Arizona's pretty much 100 points worse against left-handed pitching than they are against right-handed. 757 OPS against southpaws for Arizona compared to the 851 OPS against right-handed pitching here. So Grand Canyon, as the 4 seed, I think they are the most frisky 4 seed this season. I think they've got a shot to upend Arizona and be your lone 4 seed that wins a game. That's the only one that I'm going to predict that happens. So give me the Antelopes here over the Wildcats. I forgot to fill in some of my tally site picks for the games that caught me off guard without handicaps, but we're going to lock in Grand Canyon on the money line, plus 1.5 with the Lopes, and I'm going to take the under 10.5 there. And we have completed the slate. We've gone through every single game, 32 games here for this slate. Outstanding, pace for what it's worth at 135, going through all the handicaps. That's one of the better times that I've done in recent memory on the NCAA tournament. Hasty says K-State, I feel like, is going to be a duel with Louisiana Tech. That is a great angle on Louisiana Tech, Noah, says Hasty. Grissom says good chance that it gets rained out. They're expecting rain in the forecast and tomorrow in Fayetteville. However, if they play it and the weather's shitty, that helps the under, right? Hasty says 1 vote for the Beavs as a parlay piece. He also says UCSB as well, and he's inserting the soundboard clip of the Arizona Wildcats, the WILD Cats, WILD Wildcats from Colby. And then Hasty says, say it ain't so, Noah. What about Chip? I know I like Chip, but he's saying revenge after the Arizona lost the Grand Canyon earlier this season. Hasty's saying, great show. We're not done. We've probably got like 4 minutes because I've got to go through all the locks here that we're attacking here on the soft board. Hasty says Noah's locked both of GCU minus 1.5 and money line. I'm just going to full send on the money line just because, I mean, the plus 1.5 minus 110. I mean, sure, if you don't want to go, there's not really a huge difference, I guess. If it's going to be a low scoring game, I'm taking the under 10.5. The plus 1.5 is probably also a smart pick if you don't want to completely go on the money line. But I would fully condone either pick for what it's worth, whether it be the plus 1.5 or the money line. For what it's worth, I'm just going to shoot my shot on the money line. Let's go over to locks real quick on the show. Then we'll create a couple of parlays and we'll get out of here. First lock is the over 11.5 in Coastal Carolina Vanderbilt. Second one is Indiana plus 124 on the money line. Third lock is the under 11 in no, that's the wrong. The third lock is the Nebraska money line plus 110 against Florida. Fourth lock is Dallas Baptist minus 190 on the money line against West Virginia. Why is that abbreviation VIM in tally site? That's weird as fuck. Then the next bet we have is San Diego minus 130 against Oregon. I love the Wake Forest VCU handicap. We're going to take VCU plus 4.5 and that over 12.5 there. Both of those I'm going to lock up for the picks page and this show. I'm also locking up the under 11 for Texas and Louisiana. Then I'm locking up St. John's plus 4.5 against Mississippi State. I think that's a low scoring game. Cal Steven not really in the greatest form right now. So I think that one stays low scoring. St. John's is going to be able to cover that large spread. We're going to go with the over 14 in a matchup with not much pitching between NC State and Bryant. That one's going to close much higher tomorrow afternoon. Northern Kentucky and Tennessee over 14.5 as well. Both of those are top 5 scoring offenses in the country. 14.5 is a low number just in principle. Louisiana Tech minus 150 against Kansas State, and also the under 12 in the Louisiana Tech Kansas State game. Hopefully we do get the rain. We get a low scoring game and we get a Louisiana Tech victory. Thank you, Grissom, for letting me know. I'm going to root for rain on your head tomorrow. And then the final pick, the final lock of the day is Grand Canyon plus 170. The chat is moving along here. We've got 50 in the YouTube chat at 3:17 a.m. Davon Ramos says Dallas Baptist money line. We are on it. You bet, baby. Austin Libro says South Carolina, Oregon State, LSU, Indiana, Alabama, Dallas Baptist as a 6 pick. And then Ramos says Dallas Baptist, Indiana State, UC Irvine, UC Santa Barbara, Louisiana Tech, San Diego, and Duke as probably a lottery ticket parlay or just all of his bets there. I would say that's probably a lotto ticket because most of those are in the 200s, 300s as favorites. Avetta says, thanks, Noah. Excellent job. Appreciate all the time and effort you put into this. Let's create some parlays and get out of here. So I highlighted in my handicaps as we were going along the lotto ticket 1 seeds. And we're going to see if this can get to a bettable price. Because as I was walking through most of these, I was like, you know what? These are somewhat reasonable. Let's see what we can do. Kentucky minus 720, Virginia minus 810. All right, those two will come out to minus 370. So we're gonna get somewhere with this for sure. Georgia minus 720 against Army. Duke and South Carolina are legit parlay pieces, not for this lotto ticket. Where are my other lotto ticket highlights at? NC State is in here. I feel pretty good about them over Bryant. That's minus 164 now with those 4 teams in it. We'll keep scrolling through. So we're at minus 164 with those 4 teams that I felt pretty good about as 1 seeds in our lotto ticket parlay. Now we need to find 1 or 2 more stretches to get this thing to plus money. What a joke. It's so fun. All right. Let's see here. We're scrolling back through these games real quick. Sorry for the dead silence real quick. There wasn't a game. There wasn't another game that screams to me like a 1 seed that's got a easy matchup here. I don't think. Oh, we wanted Oregon State. That was one that I didn't fully handicap, but they got their ace on the mound. Somebody commented they wanted Oregon State in it, so that one makes sense to me for sure. Tulane from the boot going up to the Pacific Northwest, their first game. I don't think their lineup is hot. However, going up against Oregon State's ace, give them a game, and then they'll find some offensive success. I'm going through one last scroll of these games, and I think those are the comfortable victories on this slate. So, all right, we've got 5 legs. This thing comes out to plus 112. Kentucky minus 720 against Western Michigan. Virginia minus 810 against Penn. Georgia minus 720 against Army. NC State minus 920 against Bryant. And Oregon State minus 315 against Tulane. Which leg fucks it up for us? So that's the first one. Here on the day, I'm going to video this on my screen because it doesn't fit, and make sure that I don't forget this when I go and try to bet this later. All right, so that's the first one. Now let's do an early slate, legitimate parlay of legs that we liked. Tomorrow morning, afternoon, Duke minus 280 is the first one. I like them against Yukon. I don't even need to know really kind of the pitchers. They're both kind of the same archetype kind of team, and Duke has the much better offense. The next one was South Carolina over James Madison. So those two come out to minus 106. Was there another game that I liked prior to the lunch break for a parlay. DBU, I'm going to play straight. So yeah, that's the early slate parlay. Duke, South Carolina, that is -106. And then our late slate parlay is going to be who do I feel best about? Actually, I don't have a late slate parlay, I guess. So it would be, if anything, it would just be some of the straights we would throw into a late slate parlay possibly. So we could go with Louisiana Tech, who's -150. And then I'm on a lot of totals tomorrow. San Diego -130, DBU -190. That's an earlier game, right? San Diego's -130. That they're an early game too. So yeah, I don't think I'm gonna have a late slate parlay for what it's worth tomorrow. We're just gonna have that lottery ticket, and that will be it. Oh, actually, I didn't lock up. In Indiana State, we're betting. That one we did not go through on the review. Indiana State -166 against Illinois. I loved that handicap. So we could do an Indiana State. I can't believe I forgot that. Thank God I went through it one more time. Yeah, Indiana State against Illinois and Louisiana Tech over K-State. Those are the two sides. We were on a shitload of totals and run lines for the late slate. But for the night or late slate parlay is, we're going to enter it and see what odds we get. Indiana State -166, Louisiana Tech -150. That comes out to +167. That's going to wrap up the show. I'm going to go through the YouTube comments one last time, and then we'll get out of here. Thank you all for listening to this long show. But like I said early on, I tried to provide as much information as possible. Again, like these shows, you don't get anywhere else on the content creation space when it comes to college baseball gambling. And I feel great about doing a lot of the muddy work for everybody else that doesn't have the time to do so, but they love this great game because it takes a ton of work, a ton of time to go through and find the necessary pitching to build this or to properly bet, in my opinion, with some logic and with some analysis and with some stats. It takes a ton of time for college baseball, going in team by team through all the previews and stuff. I missed a lot. I wasn't even paying attention on accident to the YouTube chat who was trying to give me suggestions for the late slate moneyline parlay, but we came to it. We got it with Indiana State, Louisiana Tech. That's +167. Ryan Hasty says Beavs is blue and UCSB. There. Oh, we forgot about Oregon State. God, I forgot about them again. They probably could have been a nice leg in the late slate parlay. Hasty says, smashed it, Noah. Best college baseball show there ever was. Nobody else is doing this. I appreciate that, Hasty. Thank you all for listening to this hour and 48-minute masterpiece. Good luck to those who tail. Good luck to those who fade. Good luck to those who are playing their own action today in college baseball. It's Friday, Christmas morning, Christmas day for college baseball fans. The NCAA tournament begins in 9 hours, 8.5 hours. Let's fucking go. Thank you all for tuning into the college baseball experience. You've been experiencing the better side of this great game that we know as college baseball. Adios, amigos.